this on my socials too.
Cool. Oh, dude, we're live. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew Martin for the Hearts of the Father. This is football and fatherhood, and I'm stoked about this guest that I have. I swallow my gum. I am so stoked about this guest that I have. We go back, gosh, it's probably been 3 or 4 years. I interviewed this guy. He is a stand-up, super dope guy. Every year around the Super Bowl, I try to get some NFL alumni to interview to talk about their life. And the first time I did this, I met this guy and we chopped it up, and like we've been friends ever since. Dave Clement, he's a name dropper. Played for the Kansas City Chiefs back in the day, with Dante Hall, and we'll tell that story in a minute. But DK, man, what's up, dude? How you been?
Man, so ever since I love seeing your smiling face and everything that you do, what you're about. It's a rare thing in today's world to see someone stay as positive as you have throughout an entire process of, like, and it's because, and I talked to Eddie Kennison a lot, and as a matter of fact, I had him on ESPN on my radio show like 2 weeks ago, and he's another guy, reminds me of you a lot, where he's just a light, and in a dark place, the light is where everyone's going to go. So if we can just be a light, we can have something to follow. You're like a beacon. And
Absolutely,
so it's a neat thing to see. I follow everything that you do, and I watch you. And it's such a neat thing to like watch someone positive. And I start deleting people that I feel like are negative. And I start to see, like, who I'm following. I try to be a light. I don't know if I'll be a light like you or Eddie, but I sure do try. And I really do appreciate you and what you're about. So,
bro, you are changing lives. I think in some aspect, we're running parallel together. Yours is in athletics, and mine is working with boys in foster care, and just boys from hard places. But the teaching element is creating the spark. When in your aspect, when your guys and your girls that you're training, they go off to college and they get the compliment from their track coaches that their form is amazing, or they're if they're in football or they're in basketball, how their speed has improved just over the summer. They can thank you.
Yeah, it's been a cool platform for me to use. And I also, up until this year, I was a little afraid to share, and you're a big reason for this, by the way. I was afraid to share my own faith too, because that was like, it's a little bit like you're worried about, are people, if I share my faith, am I going to lose people because they think I'm overstepping my boundaries? And I started to get such a following that I go, you know what? If I don't, I'm not doing what God set me here for. Like, this is what I dreamed of, was having this type of influence. And now, the last time I had this was when I was playing, and I was a person of extreme faith. And
Yeah.
And that's how I have that influence again, probably to a different degree, in a deeper level, even more now. And I go, I'm starting this darn Bible study, or else God isn't going to let me keep getting more influence. Like, I'm doing this. So I did it, and I thought I was going to get trashed for it. Instead, I got bombarded with people that are trying to support the Bible study and everything. They're so happy that somebody's taking it on. I'm the first athlete Bible study that I know of down here anywhere. So, like, that's what I'm super most proud of right now. And that's where I run parallel with you. All the other stuff is great. And I have to do that for a living. And I think I get to touch people superficially a little bit, but the deep stuff, the stuff that you do is really meaningful. The stuff that we do in Bible study and the people that we reach right there, that's how I could run sort of parallel with you.
Bro, my all-time favorite player of all time, like I'm going to be 40 in August, and I will gush about this guy like I'm 10 years old. When I was in high school, like the Packers were the team. Like the Packers, those jerseys were selling for 60, $70. But my to this day, my all-time favorite player is Reggie White. That is my guy.
I know him as an Eagle.
I played him. I played his position when I played football. I just wanted to be a defensive end because Reggie White, that was my guy. Like he was a gentle giant, but he was a beast on the field. I'm like, these kids now, you're talking about these guys now, but like go watch Reggie White highlights.
Well, I remember him as an Eagle because he was an Eagle before he was in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And he was so disruptive. Like people know J.J. Watt, right, as a disruptive guy. There was Reggie White before ever there was a J.J. Watt. There was this guy, I can't remember of a defensive lineman's name before Reggie White. And now I know a couple guys, but I can't remember one guy that was that disruptive or that, like he made a humongous difference on that side of the ball. Now, if you don't know this, Reggie White, also known as the Minister of Defense, he was an ordained minister and went overseas. My father-in-law just told me this, to learn how to speak Hebrew so he could understand how to decipher the words and exactly the meaning of the words instead of just having the English translation. He wanted to know the root word and what all that meant. So he went over there and studied it. Amazing guy. We lost him way too young, but I love him too.
You should hear Brett Favre talk about Reggie White. He created a standard without saying a word. He never like pushed the Bible on people. He said, like, even hearing about people talk about Reggie White just had they would say an aura about him that people would just come and ask questions, or people would just come and just vomit their problems to Reggie White. And Reggie White, like they knew Reggie White as a person. And so it was like it's not two sides of Reggie. He was sincere. He, dude, we're lining up with this guy and I'm telling him my problems, but it's Reggie White. Like this dude, he's a beast on the field. And I knew if I was going, these people are talking about Reggie White. If I was going to go tell him about my problems, I would get like some bona fide solid advice from him.
When this is my daughter, Callie.
We're going to talk about you, Callie.
We're going to talk about you, Callie. So I have another one named Andy, and she's 1. Callie just turned 3. But now
I'm the oldest daughter.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk to your daddy about football and how. Yeah.
Oh wait, you know what? I should go get you I should pull my jersey out. I just ordered a bunch of I do this on Super Bowl years too because I know the price of everything's gonna go up. So I just rebought a bunch of my old the team posters that are like I was in, and I bought a bunch more of those. So if I put them on resell them, they'll be worth a lot more on a Super Bowl.
You're gonna have to send me one and sign it,
bro. I had to buy my own jerseys. So I had to they give you a couple of them, and I go on GameWarmUniforms.com. I had to buy my old jerseys myself, like $400 a piece.
Like it's my jersey.
It's my jersey. It's like OJ, like trying to get his own. But I love that you love Reggie White because he was originally an Eagle. I think he retired. They retired his number as an Eagle, number 92. And everybody in Philly loves him. He is beloved probably in 2 cities. Now in Kansas City, we had Derek Thomas as the most beloved defensive player ever. He was unbelievable. But being from Philly, it's Reggie White, it's B Dawkins, it's and Ron Jaworski, Coach Vermeil, who I played for, are like the most famous Philly people ever. So Reggie White's in that list of probably top 3 people that Philadelphia fans love. Yeah.
So I know I sent you a bunch of questions, but I think I know what we're going to do right now.
Okay.
We're going to, since the last time we talked, she was like an infant, like
Yeah.
y'all had just had her. And so I want you to kind of like just talk about like new parenting and how some things that you learned in football, how it's helped you in parenting. Like, she's going to be starting school in like a couple years.
2 years.
And so how has those character traits in football helped you as a dad?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because sometimes you ask yourself, why did I do all this playing football? Is this like, I know so much about this one thing. Where is this applicable anywhere else in the world? And I can tell you in a lot of ways that football and life are some parallels, and you can find the parallels in discipline, in teamwork, right? It's just, these are some things some things I'm learning that it's a lot more about the teamwork. And you can see when I'm not being a great teammate, my wife is like, you're not being a great teammate right now. I need more help, and then it's like, oh shoot. If I was on the team, I'd be in the coach's office right now and he'd be yelling at me. And if I'm not helping with the kids as much, and so I need some work on some stuff too. Cause I'm really good at my job. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, you're doing really good. Yes, you are, but we need help too. So you catch touchdowns all day long, but are you helping, with blocking, right? Are you block? So I go, yes, you're right. I am. I'm kicking butt, scoring touchdowns. But if I'm not throwing blocks, I can't help out the running back score a touchdown, right? And you can see like George Pickens just went through this with the Steelers, where he's in a great season, throws his hands up, doesn't block for somebody, and they get hit at the 1 yard line. So it's like these things happen, and I just compare. Sorry guys, whoever's listening to this, I can't remember one of my college professors. Kelly, we lost him on the screen.
We're talking.
I can't remember one of my college professors' names. Sorry, I can't remember. I remember my high school teachers. I can't remember anything they told me. However, I remember everything that happened on that football field, whether it was a coach speaking, Charlie Joyner, Dick Vermeil, Barry Gallup, whoever it may have been, Bob Coffey, Chuck Smith, whoever it was. I remember their words like they were seared into my soul. And I can remember when I was a good teammate. I can remember when I wasn't. I remember how interacting with people molded me into like who I am. These experiences that you're going through, they come with adversity. You can be in the hole. You got to have a short memory, and you got to come back. You can't get down because your team needs you to be up. Sometimes things are going bad.
Yeah.
You got to pretend like they're not. You got to just sit there and, be very stoic about it. And, like Jalen Hurts is an Eagle that's very stoic when he does everything. Sometimes they need a little emotion. I think he could do better sometimes, but you can see he's even keel. They're up, they're down. He's here. He's like the guy. He's the guy. Just follow him. And that's kind of what you have to be like right now. And like I have a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old. And I can't tell you how many times I've even told my wife, she thinks like she's probably over it, where I'm like, all right, team, this is what we got to do. You know what I mean? We gotta get the ball over the goal line. So here's how we have to do these things. And I always relate it back to sports. I'm like, that's all I speak. That's the only thing I know how to talk about. It's like, I can't remember. Yes, I will. So I go, this is how I speak in terms of sports. That's what I understand. And when I finally go, you know what? There was nothing better. Until I became a father, I didn't realize how important football was. Football is massively important for being a dad. And so for those people that have played the sport, I'm sure they could draw a ton of parallels. But the most time I see is, I can see it all over, all in other aspects of life, but especially in parenting, because you're like coaching, or you're trying to be a better player, a follower. Sometimes you got to be a really good follower. Sometimes you have to lead. Sometimes you're in between, but I know I have drawn so many parallels. So
That's why I think that's why coaches like Andy Reid, Dick Vermeil, um, uh, like the coach for the Houston Texas, D'Amico Ryans, a lot of these guys, they're more than coaches to these guys. They're fathers. You may not say, "Hey, Coach Andy, you're like a father to me," but the strong dynamic that how football is so much, it's such a parallel with parenting. There's times to yell, there's time to scream, and there's times to teach. There's times to, hey, sit down and listen to my words. Don't just hear them because you're already creating a narrative of what I'm going to say. I want you to listen to the words that I'm saying, listen to the cadence that I'm giving you. Like, I want these words. That's why the times that you were in Dick Vermeil's office and he talked to you, or he just, you met him somewhere or you ran into him, and it's just like you didn't know you were about to have a dad moment with him.
He's taught me a couple things in life that he never had to speak. Like you said, sometimes you need to listen to the words. Sometimes you need to, feel me. And some of the things that he's done and silently treated me as if I was a first round draft pick, right? I was the guy that was hanging on to the roster. I got a funny story about it. This is how much here's how much I thought I was going to get cut every single day. Coach Vermeil came to my house. I've been there for 4 seasons now, right? Coach Vermeil stopped by my place because we both lived down the plaza. He stopped by my place with his wife, Carol, and they came by to bring me dinner. Just because I was, they were like, they lived across the street, and they were like, they just wanted to hang out. I was like, yeah, of course, come over. He comes over, but I was like, oh, shoot. I told him, yeah, he could come over. He walks in. There's no furniture. There's no tables. There's nothing. All I had was an air mattress, and that's all I ever had. I never ordered furniture, nothing, an air mattress, and that's it, with pillows and he comes into place, and he's like, Dave, where's all your stuff? And I was like, well, I don't have anything. I just have the air mattress. She's like, why? And I'm like, well, I never really knew what my last day was. You know what I mean? So he was like, what? I told you I'll keep you here as long as you're healthy. You know what I mean? Like, you're one of us, one of our guys. And I was like,
bro, so you're at that moment, you're in the NFL. You've been drafted by the Chiefs. And you're sleeping on an air mattress.
Air mattress for 4 years. Yeah. So I go, he was like, I mean, what are you thinking? I was like, well, I don't know. What if I was cut like the next day? I don't want to have to move everything out of the way. He's like, but 4 years, like we've been here since like 2001. This is like 2004. And I was like, yeah, I guess I could have like settled in a little bit more. But anyway, I was like, he thought that was hilarious. So we had dinner standing up on the kitchen counter there, like, so we were all eating at the kitchen counter. It was great. But he would treat me though like a first round draft pick. And Tony Gonzalez was on our team. Priest Holmes was on our team. Trent Green, Dante Hall, future Hall of Famers, Will Shields, Willie Roaf. They're both in the Hall of Fame right now. Tony's in the Hall of Fame. And he treated me as like gold as them, and no difference. So since he didn't play favorites, everyone notices that, right? They're like, they notice that he's not going to gravitate towards the guys that are really producing. He always believed his guy, the last guy, is going to be as most important as your first guy as far as you treat people. People really got that, and they believe in you a lot more. And your young guys have to step up. They'll do more than there's on their contract for you, because there's a contract number that you have to do. There's like, I'll have to do this to make this much money, and that's it. And that's all I'm going to give you. When you found a guy that believes in you and really like pours into you like that, you can't help but play above your contract. And that's how he's a Hall of Famer. And Coach Vermeil, I was at his induction. I could pull a text message up from 2 days ago where I sent him pictures of the kids at Disney, and he sends back messages like how much he loves me from um, hold on. He I'll pull the text message up, but I was sending pictures of the kids, and he always will talk. He'll always say some kind of football term or whatever, and give me some advice, whatever. It's always gold. And every time I meet one of his players from the Eagles back in the 80s or 70s and 80s, they'll always use some Coach Vermeil quote. And then we constantly shoot them back and forth. And there's so many good ones over the years that it's really molded me as a person. And I can't believe I was so blessed to play for a guy that I actually feel bad for other people. I'm like, if you have a flaw there's some kind of flaw that you have that I don't have, I don't feel like I'm better than you. I feel like you just hadn't had influences like I had. And I was so lucky and I was so blessed that I could see this clearly because I had him as an influence. So anyway, the whole point of this long story was to tell you, when I have a blue chip athlete in the building, I will spend the equal amount of time with him as I do the kid that has a gait that barely can walk straight. You know what I mean? He barely can put one foot in front of the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going to pour into that kid as much as I do the blue chip. And you should see that it's made such a difference with parents who've noticed that I pour in the same amount. Like, why would you spend so much time on my kid when, I got David Washington in the building or Christian Leonard or one of these big time, these guys are going big time. And I'm like, well, that's how I was taught. That's the way I was taught. And it means so much to people that you don't play those games or whatever. And it means a lot to kids. So I definitely do that. And when it comes to my kids, I thought I was going to care way more about sports and performance and how they're doing. And I care more about them having great character. And I reward them more when they do stuff like share or when they do stuff like go over and put your hand on somebody and pat them on the back when they're feeling bad versus, something that was more performance based. And I'm totally shocked by that. That's one of those things I was like, man, I can't believe I am. And as for what I do and for a living and everything, you think it's all performance based, but I want my kids the highest of character is what I'm into.
You can name drop just out of everything you said that last 45 seconds. You go back to the NFL, you can name drop the players that were cocky and they thought it was all about me, and they were too confident in their ability, and they didn't take the time to train the younger guys coming up. And some of them, look at them now. Things have humbled them. I think when you get in the meat of the NFL, not just what's on camera, but behind the scenes, the people that go the distance are the people that have strong character. And what I mean by that are the people that helped people along the way. That I look at coming from Houston, I can think of like J.J. Watt. He had really great character. And even while he was in Houston, he was really humble. Based on the stats that he had in the last years before he left and went to Arizona, I can only speak of his time in Houston, is that his character and the way he carried himself, he was very humble. He was never, just stuck up because I'm J.J. Watt and I've won Defensive Player of the Year because I have so many sacks. He was really humble. And so a lot of the guys that would come behind him, he would be in the weight room with them, staying with them longer, helping them. And that alone made the city fall in love with JJ. We get the stats and everything, but what his character speaks so much louder
Mm.
than what he did on the field. And so as a parent, as a father, those sports analogies that you give your girls, even now, and as they grow up, that's going to strengthen them. But the things that you reward them on their character about sharing and saying please and thank you, those are the weights in their heart. When you get older, those weights will never leave. And when you get older and they grow up and they're 20s and 25, and I know you can't think that far, but they're going to blink and you're going to be old and they're going to be in their 20s. And those are the moments that make you a man. Those are the moments that make you a father. What did you do to help build their character? Those are the moments, man. Those are the proud moments.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it, Andrew. We're like in a world of fast-paced, number-driven information at your fingertips at all times, and the one thing that never changes, it will never like as fast as everything can come in, and as fast as you have access, the hardest thing to create, and it's slow moving, is the building of character. It needs experience. It needs time with people. It needs time to see adversity, and those things aren't slow, and nobody wants anything slow. So people's character is really as short as their attention span. It's short-sighted, So the slow moving, turn the TV off and start to learn about people. And one of the things that I've seen that I got to be really, really careful of is I grew up with very little, and I have gratitude beyond gratitude. Our prayers are for thanking God for our fingers and our toes and our eyes and our nose, it's our knees and our hair and our health and all those things. Those are things that I pray now with my daughter. I'm already praying for her husband, by the way. I don't know who he is, but I'm already praying for him right now for both of them. And I'm like, so it's so funny that you said at 25, I'm praying ahead, like right now. And I go, and the gratitude that I try to teach her while still being able to provide as much comfortability as I can. It's hard to do that when you almost have to take it away from them in order for them to feel grateful, because you can't. If you're always spoiled, you're never grateful for things. So, and I at this point in my life, like I'm so grateful for everything, and I have to keep that. I would say the contrast of having a lot and having nothing. Like we have to see that contrast, or else you just get stuck in a world of you're like in the clouds. And I that's one thing I found out, like with football, you could be is another great thing that when I read the script of everything, I was like, this is such an awesome subject, because it really makes me like even think. I have to think about that, like how that there's parallels and and things that really work together with football and family and fatherhood. But that's such a huge thing, that if you contrast like football, where you're playing this great game or whatever, and then you're killing it, and then all of a sudden you're hurt, you have nothing, you're back to square one, and you're like, holy moly, I can't even walk, which happened to me. I broke my leg in a game. So I had to, at one point, I think I told you this story the last time, was when I broke my leg in a game, I had to start from zero. Now, I had my entire life, all that people would talk about with me was how fast I was and how high I could jump. And it's just like it's always about that. And I go, I can't even walk now, bro. I cannot even walk. So now what? Like now you're back to square one. So if you were so spoiled to have all these physical capabilities your whole life, and as soon as they're gone, you're like, I was super spoiled. Like, I don't even know. I was so depressed. and an angel came into my life, and I'll tell you how. I think I told you the last time, but it never gets old for me. A kid named Jordy visited me in the hospital. Kid named Jordy had no legs. He visited me once. I signed his autograph. I sent him on his way. I said, thank you so much. I'm depressed. Go back to my, there was a bunch of kids that would come into the hospital and see me, and my teammates would come in. And I remember he came in again, sweaty, all sweaty, man. He was drenched. And I was like, wow, like, what do you, like, what happened? He's like, I wheeled myself down here from my bus stop because he's like 13 years old. He was in school. He knew on his lunch break he could come over and see me, and then he'd have to go back to school. Brought Gatorade, brought video games, all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Hugged him, signed another autograph, sent him on his way. Kid comes back a third time, drenched again, right? And I looked at him, and I realized at that moment it was where God kicked me right in the patoot, and he was like, wake up. He had no legs, visited me in the hospital. I wasn't visiting him or other kids in the hospital, visiting me. I've been a professional athlete. I've been playing sports and running and being a world-class athlete my whole life. And I wasn't visiting kids in the hospital. He visited me in the hospital, and he can't walk ever. He never will walk. And I said, I grabbed him out of his chair. It hit me all at once. I got so emotional. I pulled him out of his chair onto the bed and hugged him. And from that point, like, I just started crying and crying and crying. I came right up out of that depression. And from that moment on, every single breath that I have, I can tell you I'm grateful for. I'm just, because I hugged him, and I still stay in touch with Jordan to this day. And it became a story that was on the front of the Kansas City Star, which, if you know anything about Kansas City Star, it's like the biggest newspaper in the city. It wasn't front page sports. It was front page news, that story, because it was so cool. There was a guy, Jason Whitlock, that Whitlock has his own show on the Blaze. He was one that covered that story. And that's how I know Jason Whitlock. And so another guy named Ivan Turner, and he covered the story also. It was a neat thing that I didn't think was going to be that big of a deal. But when I told the story, they were fascinated with the whole thing. They got in touch with Jordy. They got us back talking together and everything. And I've been talking to him for a long time anyway. And he really saved my life, honestly, because I could have gone a route of just thinking about football all the time. And when I came back, I realized, like, it wasn't necessarily about football. It was about the journey, and it wasn't about the end of the journey. I didn't play long enough to say that I had some great football career. I got paid very well, and it gave me a real great boost in life, and I've been able to do amazing things with the platform. But I didn't have some great productive career like some of the other guys did. But my journey is where I learned everything. You said it, is that journey is where you're gonna.
It's not the destination.
Yes,
it's the journey.
So, through that build is where the character was built, and I knew that pivotal of a moment for me. I realized so much that I was going to have to change in my life, and it made my life better. The gratitude makes everything change. Like you're instead of expecting that I can just get up and walk, I get up. I'm like, yes, I'm up walking. Like I have my my fingers and my eyes, and I can see and I can hear. You don't want that to be taken away from you for you to realize how grateful it was that you used to have it. If you're grateful for it now, you're a very happy person, and that's where with my kids, I'm so grateful. I look at them and I'm like, I'm just so glad that I got picked to be your dad. Like I'm so glad that I get to pick that God picked me to be their parent, and I'm like, I'm just so grateful. So like, of all things that that probably molded my life and the coaches and everything like that. It's those moments that were like not even on the field. It was just like during training, or it was, where you're building your character. It's you're forged in a fire, really. You're when you're forged in a fire like that, once you aren't under the type of fire, you can really shine. So like that's a lot of words for me to say, like how important being grateful is to even parenthood,
I think that is just amazing, because people don't see this with football players. And then back to the whole Coach Vermeil thing. He's such a legend to the people that have played with him. When you get around those people that have played with him, the connection happens when you start talking about quotes that he would say. Like your connection to playing in the early 2000s. You said a quote to a guy that played with Coach Vermeil back in 89. Y'all are like almost 20 years, 15 years difference.
79.
Yes, that synergy. Hey, were you able to go to the Pro Bowl?
No. So I was in Orlando, but I didn't go. It was like we were doing all this Disney stuff. And to be honest, I didn't even know darn Pro Bowl was there. I didn't even know until I got there. I didn't know. I knew it was like, I knew it was going to be at some sports facility or whatever. It was at Disney. It was like at their Wild World of Sports or whatever. You know what? I just really had my head up my rear end, and I didn't like even think about it. I'm like, oh, that's why there's lines everywhere we go. It was
They're
insane.
trying to have a petition to get the Pro Bowl back to Hawaii.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. I remember when we did Priest Holmes made it to the Pro Bowl. And he was so excited. He bought everybody on the team a ticket to go to the Pro Bowl, and I didn't go.
My gosh!
Yeah, the same weekend was a thing called Professional Athletes Outreach. It was in Dallas.
Yeah,
and Dallas, and I got to. But at that, even so, it was like the main speakers were Jerry Rice.
Oh wow,
Mike Singletary, who was
that's an excuse.
Mike Singletary spoke, and it was like he was still playing. He was like, whoa, you're that like hyped by listening to him talk. But I that's why I missed the Pro Bowl, and that's where I really actually could have gone, as somebody bought me a ticket to go. He bought everybody on the team a ticket. So
yeah.
But I was thinking, like, as we were talking, I was thinking of like, Ray Lewis recently talked about his growth as a person, and when that happened, he realized that, he wasn't trying to run the same. He's running on the same track as other people, but he was allowing himself, in order for him to stay running on the track himself, he had to. He wasn't mature enough early in his career. Remember, he got in some trouble. It wasn't like he got in trouble for like. He got in trouble for his associations. You know what I mean?
Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was another thing that I was shocked by, was who you're associating with is you. And we just talked about this in my first Bible study. You are the middle of your 5 best friends. You're the middle guy. If they're getting in trouble, so are you. If they're doing good, if you guys, guess what? So are you. So you're the middle of those 5 people. And if you're not looking up to them, or they're not looking up to you, like, you should.
I just told my kid this.
Yeah. So Ray Lewis was like, I wasn't mature enough to tell them I have to go on a different path than you guys. Like, I can't. And it wasn't until that moment that he goes, I got to let you go. I got to let you go. Like, I have to be. And he started to mature as a player, as a teammate, and everything. And he says everything with such conviction anyway. It was like, I learn more about, the more I learn about Ray Lewis, the more I can appreciate him as a person and as a leader. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Oh, Sorry, we're on TV.
Hey. I'm almost done with your daddy. I have one more question to ask your daddy, and then you can have him all by yourself, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But that's awesome. So that Ray Lewis. Absolutely, Ray Lewis. So I got one last question.
Sure.
Sunday.
I knew it was coming. All right. Here's what scares me. Here's who scares me: George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Chase Young, Nick Bosa. They are stacked.
Yes.
It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
Very tough game. However, we have number 15, Patrick Mahomes, and you cannot count that guy out of any game of football, especially this time of year. You cannot count him out. He will find a way, and it doesn't matter how far behind they are. He will find a way. And so you also have Andy Reid. They're going to be very creative. They're going to put a ton of pressure on Brock Purdy, who's limited athleticism with his arm. He can run. He's got limited arm strength. And he's probably, as a rookie, as a young kid, he's afraid to get out of the pocket and throw anything creative with a lot of confidence. So I think they're going to really press him hard and play man-to-man defense behind. Let them get some yards. They're going to pick him off a couple times by putting a lot of pressure on him. And I think I think that it will be a very close game. I think that just based on seeing how the teams have been tracking, that the Chiefs will probably be able to win this by like 2 points. But it's going to be, maybe 28-26.
Yeah.
Something like that, Chiefs. But he's going to pull it out on the last drive. They're going to kick a field goal at the end of the game. It's going to be a lower scoring game because there's going to be a couple picks by the Chiefs. This is, this is what I do on the radio too, is on ESPN. They're going to ask me, this is the same story I'm going to tell. I'm picking the Chiefs by 2, but the NFL, Vegas has the Niners by 2.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the Chiefs, and I'd say you're going to see Patrick Mahomes in his element. He's going to have so much fun, and everybody else is going to be nervous. And that's why you'll see the Chiefs come up because of that.
So I moved from Houston, and I live in Northwest Arkansas, and so I live in Walmart country, but I am like 3 hours away from Kansas City.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
And so everybody is a Chiefs fan, and I think a lot of people are seeing this game kind of like a David and Goliath type thing, because the Chiefs have won the last. They've been to the Super Bowl the last 4 out of 5 years.
Yeah.
San Francisco, with the rookie quarterback, do not count if it's an upset. I don't know. I'm going for the underdog. I'm not saying I want San Francisco to win, but I'm kind of pulling for them. But you're kind of biased.
Yeah. We looked at it like that. If by this year we looked at it like San Francisco had they were like such a dominant team, but they have a lot of these, and I think that the Kansas City has maybe a lesser team, less Pro Bowlers. You know what I mean? Like San Fran had a ton of Pro Bowlers, and Kansas City did not. But Patrick Mahomes can do it with lesser. He can do it with like Tom Brady used to do it with a bunch of guys that weren't even college wide receivers. Remember, he had all these guys who were college lacrosse player. This guy was Edelman was a college quarterback. They moved him to receiver, and he's making all those guys look good. Well, that's what a great quarterback can do. Is he goes, I don't care who it is, put anybody out there. I'm gonna light this place up, and that's how good Patrick Mahomes is. Obviously, he did it again, and they struggled this year. And I went to the Chiefs San Diego game.
Yeah.
Not San Diego, the Chargers game.
Mm-hmm. I
got to see Taylor Swift too. Dante Hall gets inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. So he asked me to come out. So I come out for the game. and got and while we're sitting there, of course, everybody's talking about Taylor Swift, and it was like, oh, come on. We're
That's
like
all they're going to
watching.
talk about. They're going to talk about that at the beginning of the Super Bowl because she's flying from Tokyo after a concert. And
Oh man.
just
And
get it
then
out the way.
everybody's giving Travis Kelce a hard time. She's like, why didn't Travis Kelce go to the Grammys? Like, you don't get out of football practice during the week of the Super Bowl so you can go watch your girlfriend at the Grammys. And people are like, that's not fair. She didn't support him. I'm like, or he didn't support her. I'm like, you guys don't know football, so you keep your mouth
Could you
shut.
imagine that conversation with Andy Reid and Travis, like in his office?
Yeah, Coach, I gotta go. My girlfriend's getting inducted. She's getting a Grammy. No way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
crazy
man.
it's crazy though. I'm actually proud that one of our football players, we don't think very highly of ourselves, by the way. We're always like we're like kind of grunts, you know what I mean? And like I know you could kind of act like you're cool, but we always think the cool people are the basketball players, the baseball players, We always think they get to play without the helmet on so you can see their face and they, you know what I mean? You can see, they're not too beat up or anything and they get paid a lot more than we do. So we think very lowly of ourselves. So to see somebody like Travis Kelce have a girlfriend like like Taylor Swift,
Taylor
we're kind
Swift.
of like, yo, we can all do it.
I think they actually in love. I don't think this is a business decision.
At first, I didn't believe it. Now I actually do.
I know how much revenue Taylor's bringing to the Chiefs organization just being there.
Yeah.
And so, I know football players, you guys are a bunch of grunts because, go back to the 60s. There was he was a Steeler back in the 60s, and they always show his face. He had his front two teeth knocked out.
Oh, yeah. Mike Webster.
Yeah.
Mike Webster.
During the Steel Curtain days.
Yep, Mike Webster. And he was one of those guys that actually passed away from like CTE stuff. Like there was like some like crazy stories with the football. And they've changed a lot of the rules to accommodate head injuries a lot more. But yeah, he was a savage. We grew up around here. There was a guy named Franco Harris from the Steelers that just passed away last year. He's from Rancocas Valley, right by me in Jersey. And from the Steelers back in the days. But I'd like to say, because you're from Houston, CJ Stroud. This kid is so mature.
He is a unicorn.
He is. I've rarely like to take attention away from Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, but CJ Stroud.
They gave him so much crap in the beginning of the year. And then they watched this kid go.
How proud of I couldn't be more proud of a kid for the way he just stands in there and just delivers the ball, first of all, and then delivers his message about his faith unapologetically. And when somebody tried to cut him off, I thought that, they tried to cut him off and they cut off his, when he's praising God. And, I thought he was going to get mad about it. Other people jumped in for him. And I don't know if you've seen this, but how many football players are just bursting out with their faith now. And it's because of CJ Stroud. They're just all saying that. They're like, you know what? I'm jumping in for him too. Guess what? They want to shut him up. I'm jumping in for him. And then everybody's starting to do it. So I'm like, I am such a proud,
him as a player. And he's just a rookie. When you see a lot of with me watching him and then seeing the OGs from the 80s and the 90s, those quarterbacks, they're like, his delivery on the game is like A+. Like this kid's going somewhere. And the fact that he's humble, I want him to stay that way. I don't want him to get cocky. I would tell him, don't always watch the news, because if you keep hearing it, you'll start getting a big head. Just stay grounded. Stay grounded.
Did you hear his interview? His interview was cool, where he got to talk to Tom Brady, and he said, Tom, like, you have Tom Brady right here. Do you want to ask him any advice? And he was like, yeah. How do you deal with family and stuff like that? He wasn't even football. He's just like, how do you deal with your family and stuff like that? And it was like, it was neat that he was that mature, that he was like, I'm past the football. I want to talk about how you're dealing with, like, I'm already there. So, and if you watch his poise, and how he just, is a rookie, and I played in the league at a young age, you don't play well because you're worried about being cut for making a mistake.
Yeah.
When as you get older in the league, you play better because you feel like you're like, I want to make a play. Now I'm going to make a play. Not only am I going to catch the ball, but now I'm going to make a play too. He's playing like a veteran quarterback as a rookie, making plays like Patrick Mahomes throws the ball underhand, throws over his head, no look passes. That you don't get as a rookie. You're just trying not to make mistakes and throw interceptions. He is playing with that type of swagger as a rookie and owning everything that he does. He's the most bright, shining up and comer I've seen in a long time. So,
And it's blowing people away.
yeah.
I'm really good friends with Dan Pastorini, and we'll text back and forth, and it'll just be like, this kid is going somewhere. Houston's had its fair share of quarterbacks, and then CJ Stroud comes out of nowhere. And the two big games that Houston had this season that like really were like, you better win this game, were both versus the Titans, because the Titans came out in their throwback Oilers jerseys, and yes, we're still bitter about it. and we won both games. So but hey, dude, I know it's getting late on your side and you got to put babies to bed.
I wanted to do one promotion real quick while I was
Okay.
on here, and this is because it's a Houston guy, a guy named J.J. Moses.
Oh, I know JJ. Yeah.
Wrote this book called Focus. So this is the book I'm reading. I'm doing like what we call 75 hard, which is where you work out twice a day and read 10 pages of a book. So I'm reading Focus by J.J. Moses, who was my roommate in Kansas City as a rookie. So,
Oh, wow.
Yep. I don't know if you
I'm
knew
going to
that.
order it tonight. I'm going to get
Yep.
it just because you got it.
I will send me your address. I'll buy it for you and I'll send it to you. But his forward's by Joel Osteen, who a lot of people know down there in Houston. And he's a pretty famous guy. But
I know him.
Everyone knows him. So, but this is the prepared to win mindset. And I remember JJ is the shortest player in the history of the NFL at 5'5". So
Wow.
you've seen him.
Wait a minute. Okay, so the running back for the Cowboys right now. Well, he may be.
Yeah, he went to. I think he was at K-State. His dad is a coach on the Cowboys as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever that guy is, he's like 5'5", so he's tied.
Yeah, his name is like Deuce or something.
Deuce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But I can tell you right now that JJ Moses, if I can ever talk about somebody with built character, and he's basically an angel on earth. When him and I, as rookies, they cut him first, and they kept me, and he balled out in training camp, completely balled out. But he was playing behind Dante Hall. So JJ goes on to Houston. Well, we picked him up later in the year when Dante was hurt for a little bit, and we put him on the practice squad. And he came back, and he was my roommate in training camp, and then he lived with me. Literally, this is a funny story. Me and JJ slept in the same bed because, remember, I told you all I had was an air mattress. So we put these pillows in between us, right? Just put these pillows right here. You can stay here till you get a place. You know what I mean? So,
bro,
we slept on the same bed. So I put the pillows in between us, and we just slept on our sides of the bed. Ask him; he'll crack up telling that story.
Oh, man, I want to find out his next book signing. I'm like, bro, I'm about to name drop. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna be like, okay, go.
Oh, he'll start cracking up laughing. And I used to go to his home. I used to go to his house in Iowa. He lived in Waterloo. His first cousin is Darren Sproles.
Whoa.
So, yeah, Darren Sproles is his first cousin, one of the other shortest guys in the NFL. His other cousin is Tracy Spencer, if you remember her, the singer, Tracy Spencer. Yeah. So he comes from a pretty famous family. And they're all from Waterloo, Iowa. And I get to meet all these wonderful, famous people from that little town in Iowa. It's pretty wild. They go hard up there. And so I would like to say, for the people that if you ever wanted to actually hear from somebody who I can tell you lived out their dreams and had more adversity than I did and did way more than I did in the NFL and then in life, just that's a guy that I'm inspired by. So I'd like to promote. If you're doing 75 hard, 10 pages, if you're not in the Bible, should be in this book, Focus by J.J. Moses. So
Bro,
that's
that's gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna get the book and
I'll send it to you. I'll buy you one.
I'll highlight it. Man, hey, dude, it is a honor. I am going to text you Sunday. I won't text you a lot. Maybe during halftime. Like, why are you texting me right now?
You can text me anytime you want.
All right, man. Hey, it's a pleasure.
All right.
I'll see you at the Super Bowl.
Bless you. All right.
All right, take it easy.
Later.
Bye-bye.